And welcome to the first module on qualitative research. This is the first module in the four module series, and in this module we will be talking about what is qualitative research and how can I become a qualitative researcher, or before that, am I eligible to become a qualitative researcher? So we'll try to answer all these questions through understanding the various paradigms and beliefs of individuals. Now, I have tried to interact with you because it is difficult for anybody to talk to the screen and interact with the screen. So what I've done is I've tried to ask questions in each of the slides that I'm going to share. And I'm sure all of you would be tempted to answer these questions. So you can do one thing, you can pause the video and try to attempt an answer before I actually respond back to those questions. Towards the end, I have given the suggested readings that you may use for further if you want to learn more about the aspects of qualitative research. Whenever I begin this lecture, I generally ask a question to the students that what is research? So the same question I would like to begin with all of you. I'm sure you have multiple answers to it, but keeping it very, very simple, I would like to say that research is a systematic approach to solve a problem. In management science, we face a lot of problems with respect to marketing, finance, operations, HR, and many more. So how do we solve that problem in a systematic way? Is nothing but research. In pure sciences, you may have some addition in the definition, but for a layman, this looks simple. But now the question that I have in mind is that how many questions a problem may have, or how many solutions a problem may have. I'm sure people from science background will say, sir, every problem has one solution for sure. Or there may be some problems where there is no solution at all. Problems like COVID. As of now, there is no solution, but in the long run, we will definitely get. But people from management or social science will definitely argue that, sir, problem may have more than one solution. Of course, yes. And then I ask, how many? People from management background will always say, sir, it depends. It depends upon what? It depends upon the situation. It depends upon the context. It depends upon the external environment. Or it depends upon the beliefs of the person who has to solve the problem. From a researcher perspective, I will definitely say it largely depends upon one's belief towards the problem. Whether one feel that there is a single solution, whether one feel that there are multiple solutions, whether one feel that the solution is independent of researcher or solution is dependent of researcher. So in management or social science, people will see that when I went to the company, I saw a different culture. Somebody else will say, when I entered into the premises of the company, I saw a different kind of aesthetic value. I saw a different kind of culture. So the problem or the solution may vary with respect to the person, the researcher he himself. And researcher has already signified it, already suggested it, and already proved it. Let me image. Now this image has some meaning. What can you interpret out of it as a researcher? People who are from quantitative research will try to identify some numbers, some patterns, some logic. But people who believe in qualitative research will say, wow, it looks good. The clouds look beautiful. So again, it depends upon your personal belief on how do you interpret a situation or a problem. How do you define your belief? I'm sure all of you will try and attempt it. So let me give you an answer. One's belief are their assumptions, their perception, their ideologies, their philosophies towards the position that they take. Now, Marsh and Furlong has said that one's belief can take an ontological and an epistemological position. Now, what is ontology and what is epistemology? Ontology means you may feel that there is no truth or there is a truth. So ontology or ontological science believes that what is reality, what is truth, whether there is a truth or not. And epistemological means, or epistemological position means whether or how do you want to discover that truth. For example, I ask you that COVID is a reality. Yes, there is a reality. And how should we uncover it? How should we discover upon it? So the ways, the methods to uncover that is epistemology. So ontology has been defined as one's view of reality or what is reality, and epistemology is a science which talks about how should we acquire that knowledge to attain the reality. So, and then as an individual, we have both these positions. So, for example, I have a question. I will ask you a question. What are the problems associated to the unorganized workers of India as of now? So, from the ontological perspective, you will have a lot of questions. That what is the reality? What is the truth? And then once you are aware about the truth, you may like to answer, or you may like to figure out the methods to discover or to interrogate or to investigate the truth further. If I ask you to write it down, what kind of reality do you see in the problems of unorganized workers? You have about 30 seconds to write. You can pause the video and you can try to write down. So the most common problems that I personally feel, it's again subjective, is income, because they are again migrating back to their cities. They have no jobs, they have job security, the quality of life that they are living, the social security, which is a big concern for most of the migrants and unorganized workers in India. And then there can be another reality about the work-life balance, whether they are close to their family, whether they have to prioritize the things. So all these four aspects are a part of the ontology. What is truth? Truth can apply in all of these things. Nature is truth, the whiteboard behind me is truth, I am truth, everything is truth. So what do you want to know is ontology, and how should we go about to discover is there epistemology. So under this I have written two words. The first is positivism and the second is constructivism. So epistemologically, there are two viewpoints that people may have, or there are two different schools of thought that exist. The first school of thought, which says positivist or positivism. So positivists believe that there is a single reality which needs to be discovered. For example, if you talk about falling apple from the tree, so there is one reality, that is gravity. So all pure sciences follow positivist approach, majority. And they believe that reality is observable and we can measure it, we can test it, and it depends, or it exists. It does not depend, it exists independent of the researcher. All theories, all laws of natural science or pure science, they are a part of positivist approach, because all these theories, all these laws, they are measurable, they are observable, and they can be replicable, and they exist without the researcher. So there is a complete objectivity. The positivists follow objective approach of uncovering the truth. It is the truth, but they feel there is only one answer. If I go back to the problem of unorganized worker, if there is a problem of job, so there is one answer, that is the unemployment rate. So they would like to understand that, they would like to analyze that, and they would like to suggest changes based upon that. Now, if I go on to the second perspective in epistemology, which is called as constructivist, or at times we call it as interpretivist. So constructivists or interpretivists are the people who feel that reality is nothing, but it is making sense out of the situations. There may be a situation which I experience in a different way. So that actually means that my subjectivity, my experience, my knowledge will definitely change the meaning that I derive out of the reality that I experience. So researchers' interpretation explain the reality because the researcher is a part of the research process. Researcher is a part of the process in both the school of thought, but in positivists, the outcome is already there even if there is no researcher. For example, I am the manager of a company and I went to meet my team. I saw some of them are motivated, some of them are smiling, some of them are talking to me, some of them are happy. So I will definitely take a meaning out of it. So now the solution or the covering of or uncovering of the truth depends upon my personal interpretation. Correct? So these two school of thought are a mandate for anybody who wants to work or understand the concept of qualitative research. Now the question that comes in front of our mind is that why should I learn qualitative research? Most common question, can I get publications out of research? People will see. Or can I become a good researcher, or will I get higher citations if I write a paper in qualitative research? Yes. Answer to both the question is yes. You can definitely get research papers, you can definitely get higher citations, but it is a difficult journey. Qualitative research is difficult. I can tell you with my experience that it looks easy, but it is difficult. But still, there are certain points which will attract you towards qualitative research. The first point of attraction that at least has attracted me as a researcher is the kind of flexibility that it offers to a researcher. Now, as a researcher, it's the flexibility that I have, that whether I want to apply grounded theory, whether I want to do literature review, whether I want to go to the field, whether I want to live there, whether I want to have a small sample size, whether I want to go for any analysis, or whether I want to use any software or not. So I have a complete kind of flexibility in terms of defining a problem, in terms of finding solutions, in terms of the research design that I apply, in terms of the analysis. That's a good thing that people get attracted towards. Second thing, now in the context of qualitative research, the researcher himself or herself become an instrument. We do not have a huge list of softwares, we do not have a huge list of mathematical formulas, we do not have a huge list of sampling design or what do you call as factor analysis or structural equation modeling. We may not need that. So researcher himself is an instrument because he is the one who collects the data, he is the one who creates the transcripts, he is the one who tries to interpret it, and he is the one who tries to link it to a theory and try to write it into a publication form. So researcher has the entire onus, which is a good thing. And the third, which is an hidden benefit, there is a term called as serendipity. So serendipity is a benefit that I personally have derived out of the qualitative research. I remember when I was trying to collect my PhD data about 6-7 years back. So I was trying to find out the relationship between two variables through empirical data, through primary data, which is in a questionnaire form. But accidentally, I got a lot of responses in the form of qualitative feedback that people have given. And those responses, when I analyzed, it gave me a research paper. It may not apply to everybody, but many times when you go to the field with one objective, you may observe that there is another problem which needs your attention, which can be documented and which can be written into a small paper. So you have this benefit that you can derive in the term called as serendipity. Moving ahead, people will say when to use qualitative research, because most of the quantitative researchers, they start their research with qualitative research. Qualitative research is an example of exploratory research, wherein you try to explore the ideas that you may have. Whenever you have an idea about a research, you try to discuss it with your friends, or at least you will try to Google that. You will try to see whether there is something written on this or not, whether there is a theory which is already there or not, whether there are people who are working internationally on these two areas or not. So qualitative research is the first step for every researcher, correct? So that means every researcher, whether he is quantitative or qualitative, starts the research journey through qualitative research only. But there are certain specific benefits or specific situations where one should use qualitative research. And these are, number one, knowing the context or situation. Because I have told you that qualitative research is a kind of research which has less replicability, which has no generalizability, because that is a context specific research. So whenever you are trying to understand the context of a situation or the setting in which you are working, so you may use the qualitative research. Example is the problem of migrant workers post-COVID. So migrant worker is important, but the situation or the context is important. Second, when you are trying to develop or build a theory, what happens in most of the situation, we are kind of researcher who try to test the theory through some hypothesis. You create a model and you use your structural equation modeling or you use some other mediation moderation analysis to test your theory. But what about creating a theory? Why are we dependent upon other people to create a theory so that we can validate, we can test those empirically? Why can't we develop a theory? Maybe a small concept to begin with. We'll talk about it more in the next session when I talk about the concept of grounded theory. The third important feature of qualitative research is performing review of literature. I'm sure all of you or some of you might have seen a lot of research is coming up in the form of SLR, systematic literature review. And there are other forms of literature review. So nowadays people are emphasizing, because there is a plenty of data, there is a plenty of publications which are already there. So using qualitative method, you can actually perform ROL and that gets accepted in case the structuring is there, the method is being properly followed. So you can definitely use qualitative research in performing review of literature. We'll talk more about it in the coming lectures. And then the most important thing, the point that I'm making here is that you may need to hear the silenced voices. Now, what do I mean by silenced voices? If I talk about the communication, whenever we talk to people, the research says that 55% of the time communication does not include verbal communication, which means 55% is the silence that you have to interpret. 55% is the non-verbal communication that takes place. So as a qualitative researcher, it is important for you to empower your respondent so that their body language, their facial expression, their gesture, their posture, their tone, their voice modulation, everything gets captured and you are able to make sense out of it in order to interpret it to the problem and provide a solution to it. The question which is hovering over my head also, and it may be hovering over your head also, that can I be a qualitative researcher? The answer lies with one of the scientists. He is Albert Einstein, and he says that there is an intuitive mind which is a sacred gift, and there is a rational mind which is a faithful servant. We people have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Point is clear. Can I intuit things? Do I have a power to interpret the things? Can I be a good observer? Do I have a knack of asking qualitative questions? Do I have a knack of understanding the narratives of people? Can I hear the silenced word? Can I interpret the non-verbal communication that people make? Can I bring in my experience in the form of a viewpoint research paper? There are many journals which accept viewpoint papers or review papers. So do I have that gift? Yes, we all have that. But how much to apply? It depends upon each one of us. So we'll answer all these questions in the coming sessions. There is a list of suggested reading for all of you. You may go through it kindly. Thank you so much. I'm sure all of you have a lot of queries in your mind. Please don't forget to write your queries and answer. I'll try to answer those in the live session. Thank you so much.